Welcome to the Tournament of Doom. I'm Senior Doom. Joining me tonight is Pokiemi, as we're going to watch Lugia Gengar, piloted here by Daycamp, go up against Lost Box, piloted by Small Heat. Now, Emmy, always start off, who do you think's favored in this matchup?
See, this is really tough because I think Lugia Gengar is such an interesting idea. It's not something we normally see. I know we talked about how Lugia can kind of be thought of as this way to, like an archetype more than a deck itself. But at the same time, Gengar historically doesn't do well against single prizers. It relies so much on that first attack, like Fear and Panic, that needs V's in play. So I'm kind of concerned for our Lugia Gengar player on this side.
I would be more concerned if he didn't have that Stoutland already in hand.
That's very true.
I know your feelings about Stoutland.
Yes, I hitting 5 Lugia and going 1-4 against it was tough. That Stoutland is so powerful. With that double-dipped Fangs attack, it only does 40, but when it gets charged up with the powerful colorless energies, it can swing on things like Cramorant, and like Comfeys, it can get pretty easily with only 2 powerful colorless energies on there and a third of another type to fulfill the requirements for the attack. So yeah, I see that Stoutland. He's kind of looking hungry, Doom. I don't know.
He's gonna come after some Comfies. You know, if he was playing the full art, we would possibly see why it likes Comfies.
Yes, I love that full art, but wow, this hand is looking really good. I don't like the idea that we're gonna have to Ultra Ball away some Boss's orders instead of some Archeopses. I know we definitely wish we could have been doing that instead, but otherwise having Lugia and Stoutland ready to go is really nice.
Very. As we see, he gets the Stoutland, gets the Lugia. He has a couple options. He's looking at his opponent's deck list, which is something we can do in online tournaments. You don't see every player do it. Some people have multiple screens, some don't. I believe Daycamp doesn't. So we will every time see him look at the list. That's what he'll see.
Yeah, and gonna Ultra Ball pitch one of the bosses, but deciding to go ahead and pitch the big Parasol, which is kind of nerve-wracking. Only playing 1 in this list, and that Sableye can definitely come in late game and clean some knockouts up with that Lost Mine attack to place 12 damage counters. So probably something that Daycamp doesn't want to do, but kind of is forced to do, so we can get some Archeops in the discard pile here.
He's probably also going to be forced. Well, okay, I was wondering if he was going to be forced to discard a boss, maybe continue drawing, but by putting the Oranguru into the active, he's somewhat stalling the Lost Box. The Lost Box should, and I'm pulling up the list, play multiple escape rope or switches. Switch carts.
And scoop up nets. So, all of the above.
And like you kind of want those bosses for the Stoutland.
Oh, and we don't even need any of those switching outs that we just named because we have a Bird Keeper anyways. Which is really interesting. Something that we've seen pop up as a tech in decks like Lugia V-Star and other decks that were struggling against the paralysis kind of Articuno emergency jelly deck that we saw pop up for a little bit there, which has kind of been on the downfall, except for it did really well in one of the Girl Power tournaments not that long ago.
So here we will see that we will have, well, they'll have what's here, no additions really to the Lost Zone. They had like the 1 and then they passed, so their hand has to be pretty weak. So from Daycamp's side, and this one of these things like I've started to stress, set yourself up more than worrying about hand disruption early. So like a professor's research as he's going here is going to be more beneficial to you than trying to Marnie them.
For sure. And yeah, that is something that's really important for players to note. And it's also tough with Lost Box. As someone who just played it for 9 rounds at Arlington not that long ago, you play so many switching out cards and so much energy to be able to fulfill these attacks that sometimes your hand is just switching outs and energy but no way to get another Pokemon, no way to, do certain things or get more things in the Lost Zone. So it's very possible that we just didn't see very much.
So we'll see here was the beauty of Tower of Darkness is that he can sit and continue to just throw those single strike energies away and bring them back with Earn of Vitality. That is an extra 2 draw off a stadium.
Yeah, that is such a powerful deck. Something we saw, I think quite a few formats ago, like a while ago, but players were playing just 4 Tower of Darkness in their deck, even though it wasn't a single strike deck, because they could discard the other Tower of Darknesses with it. Draw 2 doesn't seem crazy when you have cards like, Professor's Research and Marnie and these draw supporters, but using it on top of something like that for something not as very important is so powerful.
As Daycamp, our player, who was one of the nice things again about online games, is able to chat to us that Gengar was a silly start Pokemon. It's one of the outplays I saw there was he could I don't know if could have went and used Gengar V's a sleep attack. It would have kept it alive. They wouldn't get a flower select, and it still gives you the possibility to end the game with your Stoutland, but you still take a prize here. Prizes never hurt.
It's tough because I was just talking to someone about this at League, where basically we have, in this current format, we have V Pokemon that evolve into VMAXs, and that is kind of a liability sometimes. You're giving up an extra prize card for that power, versus V-Star, they just get to evolve with no kind of drawbacks other than losing access to those original attacks that the V has. So yeah, like, not using the VMAX, but only keeping it as a Gengar V, might have been a good way to deal with this single prize kind of matchup.
And the other thing I would love to have seen is he plays the hiding energy, the special dark energy. That would give the Gengar a free retreat.
Yeah, that was something that I was kind of wondering, because I thought, maybe we could use one Primal Turbo, put it on the Gengar VMAX, and then use the other Primal Turbo, and then put that on the Stoutland, but we had already attached from hand, so that would have meant we weren't attacking that turn, we weren't taking a prize card, so I understand why we didn't go that route.
Correct. And some of the other outs they do play Radiant Greninja. Most people don't always realize Aurora Energy does work with Radiant Greninja, and you can take 2 more prizes with that. That seems to be the biggest way this deck wants to win. It wants to take 3 turns of 2 prizes apiece, however it does it.
Yeah, and Lost Box sometimes struggles to swing back. Lost Box doesn't typically play any attackers that are fighting type, and we know that Stoutland is weak to fighting type. Not only that, a lot of Lugia players play Dunsparce, and so because of that, Stoutland wouldn't even have a weakness. 210 doesn't seem like a crazy amount of damage, but the fact that it's taking 2 prizes on a single prizer is what's so deadly to Lost Box.
Yeah, and it takes 2 shots with the Cramorant to knock it out. But if it gets the 2 prizes first, and then it gets another 2 prizes, it's like, oh, good, it got 4 prizes, and I got 2. The prize trade is just absolutely abysmal.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't feel fair. That's why that I was saying that dog is not a good doggo.
We could see a hard retreat here with the Urn of Vitality, and we could also see a turbo of the powerful energy still. Okay, we'll see it. See the hiding energy come out. Onto the Stoutland, and the doggo is going to, it's going to murder our favorite.
That is okay. It is time for the murder bird to go down to that double dipped fangs. It seems Yeah, I definitely would have liked to see that Hiding Darkness energy put on earlier, but I'm glad we have both Archeops in place, so we're able to use both of them, and we're able to discard one of those Urns of Vitality and see 2 more cards.
Now we could see a draw here with the other Gengar VMAX. Save your Urn of Vitality. See 2 more cards. I believe this Lost Box build plays row stadiums, so your stadium's fairly well set. I am double checking this right now. They 0 stadiums, but they do play Lost Vacuum, and they also do play Echoing Horn.
So keeping our bench full is actually really going to help us here, which is funny. You don't really think about that, but yeah, we do need all 4 powerful colorless energies on this Stoutland. So we are going to be able to double dip Fangs to knock out the Cramorant and take 2 prizes instead of normally we would only take 1.
Now, taking the 3 here, there's a possibility the Charizard. If they play the Charizard, no, they play the Kyogre version. Okay.
Yeah, they're playing the Greninja. If they were playing Zard and Greninja in the same list, that would be the best Lost Box list in the world.
Everybody would play that. No, making sure. I am so used to seeing Zard box. It doesn't scare me when like I see a Kyogre or something. It makes me go, okay, it's a different build. You can see a KO here with the Snorlax. It can KO Stoutland, but you've already given up 2 prizes. The prize trade is still very favorable.
Yeah, and not only that, we're gonna have to see the Choice Belt come down onto the Snorlax in order to take a KO. And that Snorlax, with that thumping snore attack, it will be asleep and need to flip 2 heads to wake back up. So we will see if we do get that Choice Belt here, or digging a little bit deeper with the concealed cards, discarding a Psychic Energy.
I'm really hoping we see the Greninja for game.
I mean, we might.
Or we see Kyogre play for game. That's a possibility too, because we're down to 4 cards left in deck.
And yeah, it's getting really thin. Honestly, this is the point where if Daycamp had a Marnie or a Roxanne, or obviously Roxanne's not live quite yet, or a Judge, that this is where to hit them when the Kyogre player is so low, so ready to hit you with the Kyogre play, and you just shuffle all the resources back into the deck.
Oh, we don't see it.
Killer. That's so unfortunate. But we know that Daycamp has a boss in hand. However, the Stoutland wouldn't be KOing with double dipped Fangs on the Snorlax, so I don't disagree with that play.
You could play the. Let's see, they need 6 prizes. Kyogre targets 2, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, but they both have to be on the bench.
That's a good play there.
Yeah. So, thinking of how low our deck is, just gonna go ahead and discard the 3 prizer.
He does not have access to the Greninja. That is actually pretty interesting.
So is it in the prize cards?
Yes. I do not believe I saw him discarded at any point.
I don't think so either. I would not hate bossing up the monkey here, because especially late game, I don't know about other Lost Box players out there, but I rely so much on that monkey to be able to get those late game plays and sequence everything correctly and make sure that I'm not discarding something that I really need to the Lost Zone. So I wouldn't hate seeing a boss onto the Oranguru and gonna go ahead and double dip Fangs again, but we will see if that's what Daycamp ends up deciding to do.
You want to take out one of the draw cards. It's going to be the Comfy, it's going to be Oranguru. Don't do enough to KO the Greninja. So, which one is it? You need to KO one of them, because you're going to lose that Stoutland next turn almost.
Right, and I do think it's probably tempting to go ahead and do that Wild Tackle, but that would have KO'd ourself if we did that attack. So not only would we be giving up 2 prizes, that Kyogre player would have been in a much better situation because now we're down to 1 prize card. Our opponent still needs to take all 6, and the most with Kyogre they could be taking is 4.
And then minimal they could take is 2. You could take out your energy acceleration, but Daycamp has already placed energy across everything.
Right.
And
unless we have something crazy like Goon Ping Scoop of Net, Goon Ping Scoop of Net, that's just not gonna happen.
They like we were saying earlier, they have guaranteed KO on the Stoutland with the Snorlax, but that still loses them.
Right.
They can come in with Kyogre and take 4 prizes, but they don't win the. I don't see much of a win condition for the Lost Box player.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of looking like it has been set in stone. A late game Roxanne. That is interesting.
It keeps them from decking out, but
it's just so many cards going back into the deck. Yeah, it makes me think that we don't have access to the Kyogre play, or just understanding that there's not much to be done.
Any judges in chat, if he wild tackles to KO a Kyogre, does that send the game into sudden death? If the Kyogre KOs both the Lumineon and Lugia?
But that is such an interesting question. If that was a hypothetical.
If that was a hypothetical. I don't think that we're going to see the Kyogre because they had 10 cards in deck, and we don't know how much of that was energy, how much they got back with Roxanne. None of that. But we should easily see here, Daycamp just Primal Turbo, whatever energy he wants into the hand. He's hitting for 200. Tempest Dive. That will be the game. We'll have Daycamp with Lugia Gengar are going 3-0 in the tournament as we are currently in the going through the 3rd round. So let's go ahead and look at Daycamp's list. So Daycamp is playing a very similar build to a Japanese build that recently did fairly well in one of the tournaments around Christmas Eve. It ran a 3-3 line, did not run the Stoutland, and ran only 3 Archeops and not 4. So there's little slight differences, probably stuff that Daycamp. I mean, what do you think about his changes? Like the Japanese list played 3 Tower of Darkness, 2 Path of the Peak, but he's taken that stadium count down to 4. It seemed to work very well for this game. Do you think he's going to be able to maintain that?
Yeah, I think that the changes that were made are very much in the favor. I love the 1 Parasol, and I think something to keep in mind when we look at Japanese lists, I know this is like a broken record, people say this all the time, but their format is just different. Because they have this issue where if you tie, it's a double loss, they don't really play as many single prizers, so Lost Box isn't as popular there. So something like Arceus Gengar or Lugia Gengar wouldn't be thinking, I don't think, as much about the single prize matchup. But these changes we've made, because Lost Box is so popular online and so popular in North America, I think they're great. And yeah, I love the stadium count. We saw that Collapse Stadium come in so clutch to discard that Gengar VMAX, because otherwise we were a lot closer to a Kyogre play coming in for game.
I'd also assume, because again, online meta is so different from Japanese meta, and it's also different from our IRL meta, that Collapse Stadium's in play to counter Regigigas.
Right. Yeah, we do see quite a few Regis that have been doing pretty well this weekend. Some well-known players picking it up and playing it tonight in the Tournament of Doom. So I do not mind at all a Regigigas tech. I think that Stoutland definitely does way better into the Lost Box matchup than into the Regis matchup, because I think there's only 1 Regis that Stoutland can knock out, as long as it has all 4 powerful colorless energy with that double dip fangs.
Yes, I believe it's the Regieleki. And one of the other things we were not able to see throughout this game, we did see the Tower of Darkness use the single strike energy. Radiant Greninja also likes to use that energy to be able to discard because of this one card right here, Burn of Vitality. You can put those shuffle up to 2 single strike energy back into your deck. So you can get those extra draws and put them right back. There is one of the only special energy recyclers. The other being was Roxanne's backup, Roseanne's backup.
Roseanne's backup, correct.
Correct, but you only grab 1 energy, and you have to use a supporter for that. This you can play 3 times in a turn. You can put all your energy back. No worries on that.
Yeah. And I think that it's such a fun deck. I know that Single Strike hasn't really had its place to shine. People don't really respect it as a deck, which is understandable. It hasn't done well, but it's something that's also so near and dear to me. I remember the first League Battle deck I bought was that Single Strike Urshifu League Battle deck. So I love seeing these cards being used in such a creative and unique way.
Yeah, and it's great to see. And with that is the featured game for the Tournament of Doom, which is every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Like and subscribe to the channel to see more featured matchups. I'm Senior Doom. With me, as always, is Pokeyami. And hopefully we'll see you next week.